Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be a tutorial on how to fix the window regulator rattle. It is an issue that happens when you're going over bumps and when you're playing songs with a decent amount of bass inside of the car. And it only happens when the window is all the way rolled up. If you tap, well, a fix that I've been using for a while is if you just quickly tap the window down a tiny bit, it will stop the rattle, and I'll explain why in a minute. But at the end of the day, if it's raining, I just want to be able to roll it up and not have to worry about it. I have made a post about this in one of the biggest 370Z owners groups, and I figured it must be a pretty uncommon issue since no one has made a video on how to fix it. But I got hundreds of comments saying people have the same rattle as me, and I'm tired of it, and so this is going to be a tutorial on how to fix it. But I just want to make it clear that I do not have it fixed yet. This is the first time I'm going to be removing this window regulator and figuring out the whole situation. I have a couple tabs open on the370z.com. A guy did make a detailed how-to post on how to fix it, but he didn't include any videos and about how to get this off. And so hopefully that's what I'm going to be clearing up today. So a couple things you're going to need is some tape to mark down how your window is currently aligned. I have a video on that linked in the description. It should be around the top. What you're going to need to do is, instead of, actually you can just watch the video below, but essentially the tape will help you keep the window in the correct orientation instead of having to adjust it over and over again. And there are a couple of these black, whatever you want to call them, stickers that you're going to need to remove to access the bolts to take this panel off. And so also the mechanism, how it works is there's a little gear. I'll include some screenshots of this later in the video, but there's a little gear that is responsible for yanking the window down when you open the door. So as soon as you open it, yanks it down. And what happens is when the little gear has no tension on it, it's free to rattle. And so when there's no tension, that's when the window is all the way up. And as soon as you click it down, the tension is applied to the gear, which is why it stops the rattle. And so today I'm going to be essentially removing that gear, and then supposedly the window should now roll down a little less quick, but I'm willing to deal with that. And the guy on the 370z.com said that he didn't notice any difference in the speed that it rolled down. It's happening right now. You can hear it outside too. Alright guys, so now that I've showed you an example of what the sound is, I'm going to kind of give another brief rundown of how it's fixed. This guy on D370Z, he's been basically my main inspiration, or who I'm going off of on how to fix this. Like he said, it's a ratchet mechanism with the tooth. When there's slack, it rattles, blah, blah, blah. And I think he says somewhere in here you could use thick grease to potentially like stop the mechanism from rattling. But realistically, I don't want a temporary fix. I don't want a band-aid. I just want to get it done. And so if we go down, like people say, okay, yeah, you're right. And he attached some photos of how he did it. And so right here, that has the inside of the that contains the little tooth that will rattle, and obviously this is pulled off the car, and squeeze to remove slack and cable, undo cable from pulley, blah blah blah. And also, if you go on the 370z.com, I'll link this in the description. You won't be able to see these pictures unless you have an account, and an account has to be approved. It can take a while. And so I guess there are 2 gears. Clearly it's that one, or maybe it's both. Oh, gotta go through these again and pull that one out and just reassemble it, and supposedly that is it. And so the reason I haven't already done this, and I've only been thinking about it for months, is I'm nervous about these rivets somewhere. Some people say you have to drill these out, which is not true. You do not have to drill them out, but I could never understand which bolts I needed to loosen to get it out without drilling them, which doesn't really make much sense. But I'm gonna cut this clip, tape the window up, remove these, and then get back and explain. But like I said, I have the full factory service manual, which I think is a bit confusing because, let's go back. The window, when you're putting it back in, can be adjusted like both up and down and like inwards and outwards, if that makes sense. And so I never wanted to risk doing this without being able to get it back into how it was, the perfect spec. But if you go on nicoclub.com, they'll have all these factory service manuals listed, and you should be able to figure it out. I might have a link in the description. So as I said in the earlier in the video, I have a video linked in the description on how to essentially create like a guide for how you want the window to be aligned, and how the guy in the video says that he works at Nissan. He's one of their master techs. He says that you should pull this back and like put the tape in there and then draw a line along it. I tried doing that, but with one person, it was just impossible. And so what I did instead is I just perfectly lined the tape up with how you look at it, if that makes sense. And so that is what I'm gonna use to gauge my, how to realign the window. And from there, we're gonna have to go in and release these 10mm bolts all around here. And so at the moment, if I didn't already say, I've got the 10 mils out, and right now I'm unplugging these connectors because I believe this thing is all gonna try and come on out once I pull this panel off. I've removed the speaker connector. You just push that piece in and pull it out, really easy. This one I'm having a hard time with. You gotta push it in and pull on both sides at the same time. And I might have to remove this one. I saw it in the installation manual. It tells you how. I just gotta find it again. Oh, here it is. So I guess I have to pull something down here and then pull it that way. Anyways, not a big deal. I do think I figured out which of the 2 black circles I need to remove, and sorry, you can't see. A would be right there, that one. And B, I assume, is that one. I don't think it's up there. It must be that one, because you can see the 2 like speaker, whatever you want to call it, matches right there. So I guess that is that, and I'll go from there. All right, guys, so I have, as you can see, I took 3 of these little things off. Those are just to prevent moisture from entering from the outside into the inside. That's the only reason they're there. And so I took them off, and as you can see, there's no bolt for me to loosen. The only one that I can loosen is that one. But I'm just confused. I don't want to, same reason I haven't done this already. I don't want to mess something up. And so I was like, wait a minute, I don't see any bolts to loosen. So I went back in the instructions, and so it's a disconnect door speaker harness connector, did that. Operate the power window main switch to raise or lower the door window until the glass mounting bolts can be seen. So I think now I have to, like it says, lower the window, or yeah, it's already raised to the max, so I must have to lower it to see the loosening bolt, loosen it, and then pull it on out. And from there, I think I can just take this whole panel out. Okay, so as you can see, I've rolled the window down. I think it would be possible. I also removed this little thingy that was there. If I go back up, I think it would be possible to remove the bolts as is, but for some reason the factory service manual says to roll it down and do it, like release them from here. So that's what I'm gonna do. As you can see, there's that little box where's my finger? There's a little box right there, and it's right there as well. And same with B. If y'all can see, it's right there. And so to release these, you'll need a 12mm. It says to completely remove A, so completely remove this one, and to only loosen B. And that's because A holds it in right there, and B, I guess, just tightens it or something. But that's what I'm gonna do now. So I did with the dealer, or what the factory service manual says, removed bolt A right here, just a 12mm, and loosened bolt B. And now I'm able to start to pull out the glass. I'm gonna put the camera down so that I can use 2 hands for this, but that is the end of this step. And I'm kind of like cutting this up out of order in accordance to when I've recorded these clips. So I may have said this already, but I was having trouble removing this plug. I thought I had to be pushing this down, like you can see it flex a bit, so I thought I needed to push it down. What you actually have to do is pull this little red, it'll be up like that, and you just gotta like pull it down, if that makes sense. Just with a nail or something, and then you'll start to be able to slide it out. And so now I think I might have to plug it back in order to pull the whole thing out with the regulator on it. Okay, so like I might have said in the last clip, I can get it to move a decent amount on the bottom side, but I can't get it on the top side. And I think it might be these bolts holding it in, but I know these two rivets actually hold the regulator to this silver frame, but I think the regulator is held to the door with these. I'll find out once I loosen them. So I just removed these 2 nuts, and that I was correct. Those are the last thing holding it in place. Just right now I'm having a hard time getting it actually out, because this screw seems longer than that one. I don't know if you can see, but basically this one is leaving its little hole while this one still has space, and I can't really push it back farther. So I'm gonna have to try and figure that out and then update. It didn't help at all. What I had to do, I may have fucked myself here getting it back on, but what I had to do was used a pry tool to get leverage to then slide this thing up and off this white wheel, which has now allowed me to do just that and get this piece out. So this is the piece you remove. It should be right there. I could see how people say to just put some more grease in there. And I do think there's a chance, now that I see the whole mechanism, I do think there's a chance that it would work. But the thing I don't understand is that in order to gain access to the inside of this, like in order to spray grease in there, you would have to open up this piece right here. Like these are, like I showed you before, these are normally put together. And the only way to spray grease in there is by removing it, and you can't remove it unless you take this entire panel off. So it doesn't really make much sense to me how people did it. I'm having quite a hard time getting this thing back on the whatever you want to call it, back on the track or whatever, getting the silver line. So it did, and so the issue is that it gets pinched right there, and you can't slip. Like that's the thickness of the wire, you can't slip it through there. So you gotta try and like have the gear slide it under. It's really a total pain, like I thought it was gonna be, but pretty much finishing up. I didn't already show what I used to compress the spring is I just used a bunch of zip ties and allowed it to just hold itself compressed, you know, so I could have a hand here. And what I'm basically going to do is just use leverage to essentially slip this thing and slide it down until it gets behind here. Is that when I took the measurements of the tape, or not measurements, but when I first applied it, I applied it with the door closed, so it would have popped straight up like it just did. And now that I look at it, the measurements are almost perfect. But otherwise, I mean, I think it looks perfect. And so now my only concern is how tight I need to make these two, wherever they are, how tight I need to make those, because I don't want to over tighten it and potentially shatter the glass, which I think is unlikely, but I also don't know at what point would it shatter, you know? And I also don't want to under tighten it and have the glass shift out of its spot. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy. Just confusing for a while. I still need to tighten every other bolt down. So this will be my first time testing this out. I'll turn the bass up. Got some no copyright bass music. I don't know when the beat drops. Oh, fuck yes. No rattle. All the way up. I'll move the speakers to all the way on the left. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I'll go outside the car now. Oh, I'm so happy. I've wanted this for ages. And I also just got new door sills. this. It's kind of the only thing I have left to do is just recover, well, tighten these two bolts, tighten these two one last time. I guess maybe tighten these. I've already tightened all of the surrounding ones. I guess just clean off the inside of here and recover these holes with tape or something. The OEM little black pieces are never, I mean, Nissan never wants you to remove any of this, you know, but people are gonna do it, so they're just there to keep moisture out of the interior. So I might just put some, I don't know, some kind of tape, just clean off the adhesive. Realistically, now that I've done the whole thing, I think if I went back and like to do the passenger door, I think I'd get it done in 2 hours. But just the first time around, since I didn't have anything to go off of, it was a bit of a challenge. I think that is about it for this entire DIY. If you have any questions, which I'm sure someone will, just shoot me a message on Instagram. My username is ThatRedNismo. My Facebook is Davis Hirsch. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I would appreciate a like on the video if it helped you out. If not, let me know in the comments what you got confused on. And that's about it.